This is Dr. William Balanoff, and this is Dentistry Goals. And I look forward to spending about 30 minutes with you because we have a lot of exciting things to talk about, which are incredibly timely with respect to the wonderful U.S. economy. So the way that I like to approach these is to be as apolitical as possible, because it's really not about, a particular party in the White House or in Congress or anything like that. All I really want to address initially is what do we do? I mean, we've got this dental practice, we've got this small business, and all of a sudden inflation is like going wild and we're all in a panic and we just need to be able to survive this. Well, I can tell you this much. This is not the first time inflation has hit the United States. This is not the first time that we've been in a recession. And if you've been in business long enough, you've experienced this before. But for those of you that are new to this, we're going to talk about that. And for those of you that have been in recessions before and have experienced high inflation before, let's talk about all of that together today. And I think once you realize that, you're going to realize a couple of different things. You're not alone. So that's really important to know. It's just not your dental practice that's being affected by a slowdown in the economy. It's just not your dental practice that's being affected by inflation. And it's not just your dental practice that all of a sudden is being constrained by a lot of economic things kind of going on. Remember, this is not about putting blame on anybody or anything or any institution. This is about just dealing with the cold, hard facts of where we are as a country and where you are as a small business person. So we're going to talk about a few really important things to do and a few really important things not to do. So when there's a slowdown in the economy, the first thing that we want to do is we want to cut spending across the board because we don't have any money coming in. And it's like, don't order anything anymore. Don't spend money on advertising. No one's getting a raise. I'm not taking anybody out to dinner. We're not doing continuing education. We're not doing anything as an office team. We're not doing any of that stuff. And I get it because that's a natural gut reaction to kind of what's going on. So here's how I want you to kind of divide this stuff up. There is money that you can spend on your dental practice, and you should look at that as an investment. And then there's other money that you can spend on your dental practice, and it's a frivolous expense. And that's where we've got to be very careful and be very distinct in what is an investment and what is kind of a frivolous expense. And then there's another way to look at it too. There's good debt and there's bad debt. Good debt is investing in something and paying a low or moderate interest rate and knowing that the money that you spent on the technology or the service that you've invested in is going to bring back in more money than the monthly fee you're paying for that service or for that piece of equipment. A frivolous expense is buying something that will not return any money back to your business. And that's a bad way to do it, because then if you charge that, not only have you spent the money, you're also spending money on the interest of the debt that you accumulated on your credit card. So let's talk about spending and let's talk about interest rates so we all have a good understanding. I'm encouraging you to spend money on things that are going to make you money, even in a downturned economy. So what does that mean? Advertising and marketing is a place that you do not cut back during a downturn in the economy. And in fact, I would encourage you to spend more money on advertising and marketing to put yourself out there so that you truly become an industry leader in your particular geography. So if you're in a small town or a small city or a neighborhood or wherever your demographic is, you want to make sure that everybody out there knows that you're vibrant, you're looking for new patients, and you're going to continue to spend. Because remember, when all the other dental offices in your area stop advertising and you continue, by default, you become the only person in the marketplace. So in a downturn economy, please, please, please do not stop spending money on advertising and marketing. That is the time that you want to spend more, because now you're groveling for literally every patient to come into your office. And the only way that they know that you're there is by you spending money on advertising and marketing. So where do you not want to spend money? Well, just for example, you want to take somebody out to lunch, okay? what I want you to think about now is go to your profit and loss statement, your P&L, and see how much money you spend on lunches. So if you take your lawyer out to lunch, or you take your accountant out to lunch, or you take your friends out to lunch and you charge it to your dental practice, it's something that we've all done and it makes sense. But typically the amount of money you spend on those lunches doesn't bring anything back to you or into your practice. Where do you want to spend money? On lunches and dinners. You want to spend money on lunches and dinners with people that help promote your practice. So if there's a particular specialist in town, an oral surgeon, orthodontist, endodontist, periodontist, and you get a lot of business from that person, you're going to want to take that person out to lunch or to dinner, because by spending that money, you're creating goodwill and is going to bring dollars into your dental practice. So that's a good spend. Spending money on other lunches or dinners that don't necessarily bring money back into your practice is a bad spend. So you can start to see that in a recession, we're going to increase the amount of money we spend on the things that can make us money. So for example, again, spending money on marketing and advertising, whether it's in the form of Google AdWords or it's in the form of taking important key referrals out to dinner or lunch, just makes sense. So the opposite to that is, where do I not want to spend money? Buying a new car and charging that expense to your dental practice, which we all do in a roundabout way, is probably not the best place to spend the money. So I love getting a new car. It's like so much fun. It's so exciting. But getting a new car and having that added car payment on to your monthly nut is probably not such a good place to spend money. Going on lavish, expensive vacations, probably not a good place to spend money in the middle of a recession. Again, what you should be spending money on is things that are going to help grow your business. That's where you want to be spending all the money. So what else can we do, in our practice? Well, we can start to look at some of the debt that we have, and we can start to consider consolidating some of that debt. If we have debt with high interest rates, it's best to consolidate that debt so that we can try and lower our monthly payment so we can preserve our cash during a downturned economy. So what would be high interest rates? If you have a loan for equipment and you're paying like 10% for that loan for the equipment that you have inside your office, very often, excuse me, especially if you've been in practice for a while, banks will give you a line of credit at a rate competitive, typically around 6.5%. You can lower your monthly payment on equipment that you may have purchased a year or two ago to make your monthly payment less. So if you don't have a line of credit with a reasonable interest rate, please go to your local bank and apply for that line of credit and consolidate some of those loans. Now, once you've consolidated the loans, please, 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 please don't go out and buy more stuff. That's not what you're trying to do. Remember, you're trying to preserve your cash. So I want you to spend money on things that are going to bring business into your practice, marketing, advertising, taking certain, key refers to out to dinner or lunch. And I want you to consolidate your debt to a lower interest rate to make your monthly payment less. Because when it comes down to it, every business relies so much on cash flow. And to kind of give you an example of what I mean by cash flow is I like to use a really simple example. Just imagine you have a box in your office and all the money that comes in during the day goes into that box. And then you pay your bills and you do your payroll and all the money leaves that box, to pay all of your expenses. Whatever's left inside that box is your money to spend. And now you've got to be really smart about how you spend that extra money. So high interest loans, not a good idea. Low interest loans, a great idea. That's exactly what you want to do. So those are the kinds of things that we like to do that just kind of make sense. So what are some of the other things that we can do? Well, we can start to offer incentives to the people that work for us, because you'd be amazed at how well people work when they're incentivized. We all like to make money, and your office team is no different. So, for example, if they refer a patient to your office, do you incentivize them? Do you give them $50 or $100 for every referral that actually starts dentistry? Because if you can incentivize them, we want them to go out and we want them to talk about your dental practice. So incentives for bringing in new business to you just makes really, really good sense. So I want you to think about simple things like that. Now, the best part about incentives, if you don't pay them unless it's actually happened, because a lot of times what everybody wants that works for us is like, oh, inflation's eating away at my paycheck. I need more money. I need more money. I want you to give me a raise. And of course, you can say, it's like, listen, you know that business is down right now, and we need to increase business. And the only way that can happen is by you helping bring business into the dental practice. So if they bring somebody into the dental practice and that patient gets work done, whether it's something as simple as getting their teeth cleaned with x-rays and exam, or something as complicated as veneers or Invisalign or something along those lines, incentivize those employees. Give them $50 or $100, or give them a sliding scale of an incentive, so that if somebody starts something really big in your office, they're going to get a much bigger incentive. You're going to be amazed at how much they can start to talk up your dental practice. So I'm a very, very big believer in incentives. And best of all, incentives to your employees fund themselves. It's not coming out of your pocket. It's coming out of the dentistry that you're getting paid for by the referral from that employee. So that's like a really, really good thing. There are other ways to get incentives too, and that's to give incentives to your current patient population. So if they refer a patient to the practice, you can give them money off at their next dental service. You don't have to actually send them a check or send them a gift card or anything like that. You would just give them a credit of $50 or $100 if they referred a patient into your office. So this way, again, you're incentivizing these patients that have been your patients that love you, and they're referring business into you, and you're giving them a credit towards their future dentistry. So again, it's not money out of your pocket. So in a downturned economy where inflation is running at 10%, let's be really smart about how we can bring more business into our office. So one of the things I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast was, you're not alone. So how do I know that? Well, I've reached out to a number of vendors, like different sales reps, whether it's a Patterson or Shine rep. I've reached out to other DSOs. I've reached out to other private practitioners. I've reached out to a lot of people within the dental industry. Across the board right now, dentistry is down somewhere between 18 and 20%. Okay, that's significant. That's a lot of money down on a month-to-month basis. And it's happened for the most part in the last 2 months. And typically leading up to an election, you're going to see that there's a downturn in the economy because everybody's kind of holding their breath on what's going to happen next. And again, I'm not making any judgments one way or another about what should or shouldn't happen in November. I really don't care. All I want to deal with is the cold hard facts for my business today, because I want to make sure that I survive September and October so that I'm there when it comes to November. And when it comes to November, I'll deal with the facts of whatever November brings me. And that's how you've got to start to look at your business, where it becomes independent of political party. You just want to be smart about how you're managing things. Let's talk about a couple of other ideas which I think are going to help you. And one of them is inventory control. So I've been to so many dental offices, and I go to the supply closet and I open up the door and I'm like, oh my gosh, everything that's new and everything that was kind of trendy, this dentist has bought. And then you buy it and then you don't really use it, and then you forget to return it, and then it becomes part of your inventory. And then certainly for items that have an expiration date, it sits in that closet until it's too old for us to use it on patients. I see it very often with bonding solution. I see it very often with composite material. I see it very often with impression material. There's no reason to have an excess amount of inventory. And in fact, the way you want to manage your inventory going forward is called just-in-time inventory. The dental suppliers out there will get most of the stuff we need shipped to us within 24 hours. It may take 48 hours, but typically it doesn't exceed 1 to 2 days. So the idea of having 100 impression trays of each size, small, medium, large, and extra large. Having 100 of each in stock is probably not the best way to spend our money. Because remember, I'm going to go back to that shoebox scenario. The money comes into the office, we put it in the shoebox. The money that goes out of the office is our expensive. So if we order a lot of dental supplies, that's money being taken out of the shoebox to pay for supplies that are sitting on the shelf in our supply closet that may not be used for the next 6 months. And if I have supplies in my supply closet that are not going to be used for the next 6 months, and I know that I can get inventory sent to me within 1 to 2 days, why in the world would I want to have 6 months worth of inventory in a closet? It just doesn't make sense, because what's sitting on the shelf there is actually money. That's what's sitting on the shelf there. And if you want to be really dramatic to the dental assistants who typically do a lot of the ordering for us, and they think to themselves, it's not a big deal, it's only a $20 item. Here's what I challenge you to do. And it's like such a startling challenge that it really gets people thinking about inventory. You literally get a $20 bill, and you take that $20 bill, excuse me, and you light it on fire. Exactly right. You light it on fire in front of the dental assistant. And it's going to be his or hers $20 bill that you're going to light on fire, because you're going to ask them for the $20 bill. And when they see their $20 bill burning, certainly you're going to replace the $20 bill. You're going to give them back, the $20 bill. But when they see that $20 bill burning, you're going to explain to them, this is exactly the way it feels to me when we order a lot of things, when it's unnecessary to order all of these things, and I see all of this inventory sitting on the shelf. It's like me burning money. So for as much as it disturbed you to watch your $20 bill get burned, it disturbs me just as much to see my money sitting on the shelf. It's like a horrible feeling. No one likes that. It's like, oh my gosh. Because if you try to explain it to them, and you try to explain in really very concise business terms about just-in-time inventory, and you don't do this at your own house, and you're not buying 4 cases of canned soup from Costco because you can get the soup anytime you want, they kind of understand it, but not exactly. But when you take out a $20 bill, or you ask them to take out a $20 bill, and you burn the $20 bill in front of them, the visual is something that they will never forget, and they'll talk about all the time. So the point of the story is I'm not going to burn and waste your money. Please don't do the same to mine. Please control the inventory. Order the stuff when we need it just in time. So that's really how you want to manage the inventory, because inventory on the shelf is basically taking the money out of your shoebox and very neatly piling that money up on a shelf. And of course, once you buy the inventory, the value of that inventory actually decreases in value, because if you took it off the shelf and you decided to sell it on the open market, you're not going to get what you paid for it. You're going to get a lesser value of the money that you spent. Now, there are some people out there who say, well, I get what you're saying, but inflation is at 10% right now. And if I buy a lot of supplies, then actually a year from now, I'm paying 10% less for those supplies today than I will be a year ago. And in some ways that's correct, except for one small thing. It's called cash flow. The amount of money in that little shoebox or that little box keeps on decreasing every month if the amount of business that's coming in is too small. And you want to try and preserve as much cash as you can, because the money going out is going to go towards things like rent, utilities, payroll taxes, major medical, loans that you may have taken out against your practice, other things that you need to have cash for. And taking your cash and buying an enormous amount of inventory because you think you're getting this amazing deal and you're going to save money a year from now, if you do that, you may not even be in business a year from now. So the idea of preserving your cash becomes the number one thing that you want to do, except for spending money on advertising and marketing. That's where you want to continue to spend money. So we've talked a lot of things, we've talked about a lot of different things today, and we talked about this downturn economy and how you're not alone, and you're not. And quite honestly, even Smile Perfected, my company, the company that I love so much, we're even down as far as business as well, and we do an amazing job trying to service our customers. But business sometimes turns, and I realize that. I mean, I've been in business for 40 years now, and there are some days and there's some weeks and there's some months that are amazing. I just can't believe it. And then there's other times when things kind of turn a little bit south, and you've got to be smart. You've got to be able to manage your cash. And we know that because this is affecting all of dentistry. And I know this from talking to different dental suppliers. And I know this from talking to different DSOs. And I know this from talking to a lot of our customers who are sole proprietary, mom and pop dental offices. So you're not alone. And now the time is to be smart. So let's preserve our cash. Let's not order things frivolously. Let's preserve our cash, consolidate loans to a lower interest rate, and don't buy any major equipment or anything like that. We want to preserve our cash and to go out and buy, cars and other things that will increase the amount of money we have to spend per month to honor that debt service. And let's spend our money on things that will bring money into our office. So marketing and advertising, that's the way to spend money and spend it smartly to bring new business into your office. And whatever you're spending on marketing and advertising right now, I would increase that budget by at least 50%. And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm spending $2,000 a month right now, and you want me to increase it to $3,000 a month? Absolutely. And the reason you want to do that is all of your competition is cut out their marketing and advertising spend, and you're going to increase it, and it's going to make you the market leader in your geographic area. And that is smart dentistry. That is being a smart business person to where you're spending money the way you should be. And all of the relationships that you have with all of the different specialists that refer business to you, take them out to dinner, take them out to lunch, hear their story about how their business has slowed down, tell them, my business is doing really well. I've increased my ad spend. I've increased my marketing spend. We're getting business here. I look forward to referring other patients to you, whether it's orthodontic patients, endodontic patients, oral surgery, whatever the case is. And all of a sudden they're going to like, oh, that's nice. I have to start referring some business back to him. Where I don't want you to spend money is going to dinner on things that are not going to yield you potential referrals. That's not going to serve you well. And finally, the last thing that we talked about is, incentivizing your employees, because they're feeling the pinch from inflation right now. And it's tough. I mean, it is really, really tough. If anybody's gone to the grocery store, the gas station, a department store, it costs so much more money just to live. And they're going to start asking you for raises. And you're going to say, I can't afford to give you a raise right now, but I can't afford to incentivize you on referrals to the dental practice. And giving them between $50 and $100 or $200 or a percentage of what somebody spends at your dental practice is just good business, because you're paying them with money that you'll have earned from the business that patient brings to your office. So spending, advertising, marketing, incentives, inventory control, debt consolidation, spending money on things that are going to bring money into your business and not spending money on things that are not going to benefit your business is exactly the way that you survive this downturn in the economy. It's not easy. It really isn't. Inflation is just a brutal, brutal beast, and inflation is not going away anytime soon. So be smart, preserve your cash. Look forward to talking to any one of you about this, because this is not an easy time. And the only way that we survive this is being smart with our money. If you'd like to reach out to me and ask me specific questions, I'd love to hear from you. You can email me at wbalanoff@smileperfected.com. WBALANOFF@smileperfected.com. Reach out to me. Let's chit chat about this. I love hearing your individual stories. It's so important that you feel that you've got a sounding block to talk to, because when you're a sole proprietor, you're so alone out there. And you think that you're the only person on this island that's like just barely surviving. And you're not. You're one of many people who are having a tough time in this economy. And I think collectively, when we work together, we're going to be able to survive all of this. I've survived some of the worst economies that you can ever imagine. And I survived when the stock market crashed back in 1987. And I survived when the international market crashed in 1998. You know, this has been going on for a long, long time, and it survived when the housing market crashed in 2009. There have been many instances where this has happened in the past. You just have to be smart with your cash. Anyway, this is Dentistry Goals, and I really appreciate your time today. This is Dr. William Balanoff. Please reach out to us, and we just love to hear from you, and thanks for listening.